it wasn't easy to become a mom at all. I always thought it was an easy process. You grow up and you're told not to for so long, you think that it's an easy thing. And I had always said to myself that I would push it off and do it later after I have developed this career and after I have all of these things and I feel like I'm capable of taking care of my kids. And that's what I did. And my husband actually let me do it. So I pushed it off and I pushed it off. And then once we started to try, then it wasn't happening. And it literally took 6 years of trying. And I had all sorts of issues. I had a miscarriage, you name it, I'd probably been through it in terms of dealing with infertility. And when I went to the doctor, I remember really clearly, he was like, you need to come back. You have to make a decision, first of all, because you know, there's a 90% chance that your twins, your kids are not going to make it. And, you know, hearing that there's nothing that can describe what hearing that feels like. So when he added, okay, you can come back tomorrow morning at 5 and there's this emergency surgery that I can do that will give them a 50% chance.
Wow.
So of course I was there.
Yeah.
And what he didn't tell me was that after that I would have to be on bed rest until the kids were born, you know. And, you know, I was like, wow, like he gave really, really specific instructions, like laying on your back or your side, right? For 5 months.
That is so uncomfortable. Just, oh my goodness. No.
You cannot imagine what that's like. I couldn't even walk around a corner slowly before this process. I had to slow down to doing nothing. That was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. And you can sit up at a 45-degree angle to eat. You know, so by the time I had gotten through those 5 months, I couldn't even walk. I'd lost so much muscle mass that I had to relearn to walk.
Wow.
At the end. It was crazy. But I always like to look at the silver lining in everything. And when I think back about that time in my life, and that's where I went through this whole process, I went through a life evaluation. Looking at my life, where I was, what I had, you know, all of that stuff, and deciding like, what is it that I want going forward? What is it that I'm going to choose for myself that I want? And that was the first time I really sat down and did that, because there was so much time available to me. And what I learned through that process was that if you don't stop and take a moment to think about those things, you can end up just doing things your whole life.
Yeah.
And not living for what you really and truly want. And that's why I really want to be able to help as many people through that process as possible. Nobody has to end up where I ended up in order to stop and think about their life and choose where they want to go next. I wrote that first book during that time. I'd place the computer on my belly and I'd write. I did so many things during that time that were really valuable to me, but it was amazing to see them make it all the way full term. I share with them that story just so that they know that we purposely made an effort to bring you into this world.